In the land of Egypt, the Israelites lived as slaves under Pharaoh's cruel rule. The crack of whips echoed across the fields, and the cries of the people rose to heaven. They prayed day and night, begging God to deliver them. In the midst of their suffering lived a woman named Jochebed from the tribe of Levi, a strong, faithful woman who believed that God still had a plan for his people. One quiet night, Jochebed gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. She looked into his eyes and felt something special, as if heaven itself had placed light in his face, but joy soon turned to fear. Pharaoh had commanded that every Hebrew baby boy be thrown into the Nile River to die, for he feared the growing strength of the Israelites. Jochebed could not obey such an order. She hid her baby for 3 months, whispering songs of hope and rocking him in silence. Every noise made her heart jump. Soldiers searched the streets, and mothers wept as their children were taken away. But Jochebed trusted God. She prayed, "Lord, if you have given me this child, you will surely protect him." When she could hide him no longer, she took a basket made of reeds, coated it with tar and pitch so it would float, and gently placed her baby inside. With trembling hands, she set it upon the Nile, letting the current carry her son away. Tears ran down her face as she whispered, "Go, my son. Go with God." Her daughter Miriam followed the basket quietly through the tall reeds, watching as it drifted toward the palace gardens. There, Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe. She saw the basket, and curiosity filled her heart. She sent one of her maidens to fetch it. When she opened the basket, she saw a crying baby, small, beautiful, helpless. Her heart melted. "This is one of the Hebrew babies," she said softly. She lifted him in her arms, and the baby stopped crying, staring at her with calm eyes. She smiled. "You shall be my son," she said. Miriam, seeing her chance, ran up and said, "Shall I find a Hebrew woman to nurse the baby for you?" The princess nodded. "Go." And Miriam ran to fetch her mother. When Jochebed arrived, Pharaoh's daughter handed her the child and said, "Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." Jochebed's heart leapt for joy. The God who saved her son had now returned him to her arms. She raised him with love, teaching him about the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the promise of freedom. When the boy grew older, Jochebed brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter. The princess named him Moses, meaning drawn out of the water. Moses grew up in the royal palace, surrounded by luxury and power. He was trained in the wisdom of Egypt, dressed in fine clothes, and spoke like a prince. But deep inside, he never forgot his true people, the slaves who groaned beneath the sun. One day, Moses saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. Anger burned inside him. He struck the Egyptian down and hid the body in the sand. The next day, 2 Hebrews were fighting, and when Moses tried to stop them, one said, "Who made you ruler over us? Will you kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Moses froze. The secret was out. Pharaoh soon heard of it and sought to kill him. Moses fled into the wilderness, leaving behind Egypt and everything he knew. In the land of Midian, Moses found peace for a time. He married Zipporah, the daughter of Jethro, a kind shepherd, and he cared for the flocks among the quiet hills. For 40 years he lived a simple life, far from the noise of Egypt, yet the fire of destiny still burned quietly in his heart. One day, while leading his sheep near Mount Horeb, he saw something strange, a bush that burned with fire, yet was not consumed. The flames danced, but the leaves remained green. Moses stepped closer, curiosity and awe filling his soul. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Moses! Moses!" He trembled and answered, "Here I am." The voice said, "Do not come closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground. I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I have seen the suffering of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of bondage." Moses fell to his knees, overwhelmed. "Who am I to go to Pharaoh?" he asked, but God said, "I will be with you." Moses hesitated again, saying, "But I am slow of speech and tongue." God replied, "Your brother Aaron will speak for you. Go, for I have chosen you." With trembling faith, Moses returned to Egypt. He stood before Pharaoh, the ruler he once knew, and declared, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go." Pharaoh laughed. "Who is this Lord that I should obey him?" he said, and so began a great battle between Pharaoh's pride and the power of God. The Nile turned to blood, frogs filled the land, gnats and flies covered the ground, disease struck the cattle, boils covered the people, hail rained down like fire, locusts devoured every green thing, darkness covered the land for 3 long days, and finally, the firstborn in every Egyptian home died that night, except among the Israelites, who had marked their doors with the blood of a lamb, as God commanded. Pharaoh's heart broke. "Go," he said to Moses, his voice trembling. "Take your people and leave." Before dawn, Moses gathered the Israelites. Families packed quickly, their bread unleavened, their belongings few. Mothers carried babies, children held hands, and the old leaned on sticks. For the first time in 400 years, they walked as free people. God himself led them, a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. But Pharaoh's pride rose again. He gathered his chariots and soldiers and chased after them. The Israelites reached the Red Sea, water before them, the Egyptian army behind. The people cried out in fear, "Moses, why did you bring us here to die?" Moses stood tall, the wind blowing through his robe. "Do not be afraid," he said. "Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." He lifted his staff high, and the sea began to roar. The waters split apart, rising like 2 great walls, and a dry path appeared between them. The Israelites walked through the sea, their feet dry, their hearts pounding in awe. Pharaoh's army followed, but when they reached the middle, God commanded Moses to stretch out his hand again. The waters crashed back, swallowing the chariots and soldiers. The sea grew calm once more. The Israelites stood in silence, then burst into song. Miriam, the sister of Moses, took a tambourine and led the women in dance. "Sing to the Lord," she cried, "for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea." From that day, the Israelites journeyed through the wilderness. When they hungered, God sent bread from heaven, manna that tasted like honey. When they thirsted, Moses struck a rock and water poured out. By day, God led them with a cloud, by night, with fire. But still, the people often grumbled and doubted, forgetting the miracles they had seen. At Mount Sinai, thunder rolled and fire flashed as God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, laws to guide his people. When Moses came down from the mountain, his face shone with light. But what he saw broke his heart. The people had made a golden calf and were worshipping it. In anger, Moses shattered the stone tablets, yet God in his mercy forgave them and renewed his covenant. For 40 years the Israelites wandered in the desert. They learned obedience, faith, and trust. Their clothes never wore out, their feet never swelled, and through every hardship, God remained with them. When the 40 years ended, Moses was old. He climbed Mount Nebo, and from its peak, he saw the promised land spread out before him. Green valleys, flowing rivers, the land of promise and peace. God spoke to him gently, saying, "You have led my people faithfully. You will see the land, but you will not enter it." Moses smiled, tears in his eyes, and whispered, "It is enough, Lord." He blessed the people, saying, "Be strong and courageous. The Lord your God will go with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." Then Moses lay down and passed peacefully into the presence of God, and the Lord himself buried him. The people mourned for him for many days, remembering the man who had spoken with God face to face, the man who had led them from slavery to freedom. But the story did not end there. Joshua, the son of Nun, rose up as the new leader. God said to him, "As I was with Moses, so I will be with you." Under Joshua's leadership, the Israelites crossed the Jordan River. The waters parted once again, just as they had at the Red Sea, and they entered the Promised Land. The first city they faced was Jericho, a city with mighty walls. God commanded them to march around it once a day for 6 days, and 7 times on the 7th day. On the 7th day the priests blew their trumpets, the people shouted, and the walls of Jericho came crashing down. And so the promise was fulfilled. The children of Israel entered the land God had sworn to give to Abraham. From the child who floated on the Nile to the leader who stood on Mount Nebo, Moses' life was a story of faith, courage, and the unshakable power of God's promise. His name lived on forever as the man who walked with God, who faced Pharaoh, split the sea, spoke with the Almighty, and led a nation from bondage into freedom.